Okay, I'd like to call the meeting for the Town of Portola Valley Cultural Arts Committee on December 9th, 2025. Um, Before I start, at the beginning of the meeting, we'd like to do a land acknowledgement. The Town of Portola Valley acknowledges the colonial history of this land. We dwell upon the unceded territory of Ramaytush Ohlone, Tamien Nation, and Mawikna Ohlone, who endured a human and cultural genocide that included removal from their lands and their sacred relationship to the land. Portola Valley recognizes that we profit from the modification of of land seized from indigenous peoples and now bear the ecological consequences. We seek to understand the impact of these legacies on all beings and to find ways to make repair. So the first call to order is roll call. We have Jerry is absent today. Phil is here. Mimi here. Stacy. Leslie Field. We have Ivy Margolis here. Leo Butler. Okay. And so we're going to go. We have an agenda that in which I shared with everyone. So it is published on the town's website. And before we open up the floor to and go through the agenda items, I'd like to remind everyone that speaker times is limited to 3 minutes each. First order of business is the approval of minutes from November 11th, 2025. I have circulated that with everyone.
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
All those in favor? Okay. Great. The minutes, all in favor? Minutes are the minutes from November 11th, 2025 approved. So now we go down to the new business, and the first order of business, we talk about youth music night. So that is Jerry's item. Maybe we'll pass that item since Jerry is absent today, or is anyone else would like to speak about that item? No. Okay, I will do that. Let's.
Don't know anything.
No, we don't. No, we don't. I also like to move. Maybe I can reach out to Jerry since she is having health issues. Maybe someone else can oversee that event so we can have some progress. Can you not hear me? Okay. So the first business, so the first new business item is to discuss the youth music night, and that is headed by Jerry Welch. Since she's having health issues, what I propose is let me reach out to her to ask her if she'll be willing to have someone else to chair that event and to move forward with that. Do we need to vote on that? Or yes? I think everyone's fine. Okay. The next one item is talk about the event spring photography, and that is headed by Stacy. So, like I asked last time, what are the dates? Mm. Uh-huh. Okay. I agree. What are your thoughts about um, do you know when the spring break is for the Portola Valley District School District? April 4th. What are your thoughts about prioritizing April 18th and 19th?
Password.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Because I feel like March is still going to be in the middle of the raining season, and it's also height of ski season. So I know a lot of people will be out of town. So I propose April 18th and 19th. Okay. 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 Does anybody else have any kind of objection to April 18th and 19th? And those, by the way, these are the dates I will go to the city and then make sure the city is okay with this. So I just want to prioritize these dates. Now, if they say the April 19th and 18th and 19th are not available, then I will go down the list. What I propose is we go down the list in reverse order because the first week of March will still be quite cold. So the second set of dates that Stacy proposed will be March 15th and 16th. And if those are not available from on the part of the city, then we'll go down to March 7th and 8th. But I do feel the April dates will be better. Yeah. Yeah, you can turn that on. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question, and that is this an outdoor event or an indoor event?
Um,
Okay, I see. Yep.
And as I was saying, March is the peak of ski season. I know a lot of families here in town, they ski. So that means March is just, I think this is even ski week, right? We need to look up in the ski week. It's just end of February, right? End of February. I think it's week, yeah.
So Stacy, we did have 24 easels too. And then I've got, it's a professional, like at a convention. Nicely covered. You can make them like a partition. You can make it into a column or table, or we've got those in the storage.
Mhm.
And the storage is on the other side of the garage. I think I have 4 boxes. So you could do a 7-foot column or a table and you can configure it any way you want. And then I've got a great big, it's used at a convention. It was donated to us, kind of like that with a shelf behind it, kind of like that end table there. Not long. I mean, you could do it the day before. I'm trying to think, I bought some sort of hardware. I think you can almost use those pins too. The push pins, because it's a soft, it's almost like carpeting. Cause it's kind of like this. I have a key. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Where are they stored right now? Where are they stored right now?
And there's where the garage is
Uh-huh.
and that driveway that goes in next to it, there's closets there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And they're on the outside of the
Yes,
building.
yes.
By the bathrooms, on the end of the
Right.
soccer field.
Um, so I want to go back to the timeline. Would you like to reserve the room for both 18th and 19th? Because we want to have an exhibit, right? Do you want to make that kind of like an open door? Anybody would like to show up anytime during that weekend? Or do you just want to have it one day? That's a great. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So what I understand from the city is they only can host one event per weekend. So we might just, right. So we may just, if it's available, I think what I suggest is we just ask for 2 days. So, yeah, sure. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay.
Oh, and Stacy, also there's kind of a jade color cloths for the tables. And there should be some black. Like if you were doing black and white photos, it'd be great on that.
What are the hours for the day that we want to host? Maybe 2 p.m. Okay. We are responsible to report cleaning up. So we just want to make sure we have enough time to clean up. Yeah. 11. So 11, I just want to make sure I understand. So 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the second day, which most likely will be a Sunday. It's an open gallery. Anybody can come? Or will there be, or just a kind of, can you elaborate a little bit more? And that's not being set in stone, right? We just want to. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Huh. Okay. Since it's so much work to put it up, all the photos, if the city allows us to just keep the photos up for a week or two, what do you think about that? Would there be, because I think to the extent, I think they typically don't like that because there's liability for damages of property. But given the fact these are kids' photos, and I'm sure we can come up with some sort of waiver. Um, uh-huh, uh-huh. Hmm. Right. Uh-huh. Hmm. Just kind of a gallery. Uh-huh. Understood. Understood. So I will ask for 2 days. Okay. My next question is tentatively, do you have a budget? Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. I'm framing. Right. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Understood. Yeah. Later, 17. Mhm. Application. Are you thinking about any kind of activities? Um, it is a kids, it is a kids event, and hopefully in April, the weather will be nice. Mhm. Mhm.
that could be done outside if the weather is good or inside if the weather isn't good. And so we figure out what that uh, or it which it could be talking to the library. I need to think this through a little bit more, but
Understood.
do a workshop on like how do we stay focused. Why are you thinking about it?
Would that take place before the weekend? Okay.
I think I
Mhm. Yeah. I like that. Okay. So maybe, so what I would do for next step is I'm going to take the dates to the city. We're going to secure the date. And what we're going to ask for is the community room. And do we want to ask for to book any other facility for that weekend? Just the community hall, right?
yeah, I think I want to start the whole
Uh-huh.
so it for the event itself. That watching
Yeah.
back
Mhm.
prior and will I need to figure out how to advertise that with people. And can advertise the section of photos.
Mhm.
Is that two different signups or is it one sign up and anyone who signs up who would like to attend a workshop on like philosophy of like interpretive thought?
So for the workshop, would the March days be work for you? Maybe what I said is we should make the reservation as soon as like the earlier the better. Maybe one of those days, if April is available, then one of the March days would be great as a workshop. Okay. Yeah. For the workshop, may I suggest we ask if it's possible to reserve the schoolhouse because the chair is already set up. Okay.
Meeting location and my guess is that once they come on, you know, an intro to they pick up.
Yeah.
I think it might be a
Mhm.
factor.
Okay. I think those are all the questions I have. Does anybody have comments or feedback for this event? It is just so interesting.
Yeah, I have an off the wall thing. My brother is a prize-winning professional photographer. He's in Maine though, so he's not here. But he's a pretty hilarious guy too. And so as he gives advice, you know, to our family on taking photos, it's generally entertaining. And if I could talk him into getting onto a Zoom to be, you know, helping to coach kids, he might go for it. There's no guarantee. I mean, I'll have to talk to him. Cool. That would be fun. Okay.
I think like with photography, there's all different levels, but especially, I mean, that draft, but also if they're at, like, it could be, I mean, I like iPhones and cell phones in general, take a big space. And then also, you know, I think, you know, someone might have like a tablet that can take photos, so I'd like to have those available. And I might need to think through like bring home device kind of thing, so that everyone can have, use whatever device they have available, and then someone has like a more detailed camera that has like desktop, there would be a chance to actually try it. We just need to figure out like, I think it's in the form, like, if you're coming to this, tell us what the device. But
I have a question.
yeah,
Do you have a theme? Not that you want, but just sometimes it's nice as the dinners just to have,
to have a
like,
theme.
just to have something to, you know.
Yeah, does anyone have any? I can brainstorm stuff. Well, what if I
I would suggest one of just the beauty around here, because this is a very environmental town, and, you know, we could play off that.
Spring in Portola Valley. Spring. Yeah, that's. Would you, for your budget, would you also think about the marketing we need? I do think, given the fact that we don't have many events that we're sponsoring this year, we need to do, we need to just make an extra effort to market the few that we do have. Yeah. Mhm. So one of the marketing I think we did, I thought it was, really effective for different various town activities was actually mailing a postcard to each one of the families in town. Since I know it's a little bit more extensive than we would. I think this is why you come up with a budget and we'll find it. Um, uh-huh. Right. Yeah. I'll that's public because we did that for PV Palooza. That's what we did, and that's when it was with the. I'll look into it and I can talk to him. I don't think it matters. Anybody can participate spring in Portola Valley. Yeah. Maybe have two categories. Yeah.
As
I
to
think that-
addresses, there are school directories still, aren't there? I see.
I think when we send out the postcards, we didn't address to any particular family. We simply went to the post office, say, "Hey, what are the houses here in town?" And we just send it. So it's not so that's not personal identifiable information. It simply is an address. Whoever in that house has received it. So it's not address resident. Mhm. Yeah. Right.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, I wasn't very involved in it. I also like, I actually have a very, related idea. I'm thinking everything works out, maybe we work on something in the future, but my idea was about pet photography. Oh, what? Because I just feel like everyone loves their dog, it doesn't have to be the best picture or like even a contest.
Or
but
cat.
That could be, yeah, I'm sorry,
That could
any
be fun
kind of
for
pet
the
or a plant.
summer.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, so it's just throwing that out there, because I was thinking. I feel like it's also kind of unique.
So we're at half the hour. I do want to give our guest Rebecca some time to talk about her idea, which is also very exciting. Do we have any last minute comment on the photography event, Spring in Portola Valley? So I think we're good. Okay. We're moving on to the third item under new business, which is a recurring art speaker series that has proposed by our friend and City Council Rebecca Flint. I will set up the kind of the stage and then have a little bit of background context for everyone before I pass the mic to Rebecca. So both Rebecca and the town council, Darcy, came to and suggested a recurring event, specifically a recurring speaker event that will take place monthly. I met with Rebecca as well as Darcy in person. We had a few conversations. The event that they envision, which requires that will happen take place monthly, and the Cultural Arts Committee coordinating, administrating, set up RSVP, cleaning up on behalf of other committees, was a little at presently we simply don't have the resources to do that. So where our conversation landed is the following: that the Cultural Arts Committee next year, right, for the fiscal year of 2025 2026 to 2027, that we will commit to sponsor 2 events, and we will also coordinate with 2 to 3 events with other committees, possibly, that would take place recurringly on the same day. What I mean by that, so on the first Friday of every quarter, that there will be a speaker event that's sponsored by one of the committees by town. And essentially, these committees who want to participate will informally agree to a date, and that will be the date that we reach out to the city and reserve the facilities, and then, do certain and essentially move forward. So that accomplishes the same goal of a recurring event on the part of various communities of the town, but without actually having the Cultural Arts Committee spearheading the administrative aspect of that. So that's basically where we are now. If the first year goes well, we will continue to engage with the town to talk about future collaborations. The town is very much interested in for us to model the after the monthly speaker event for the town of Woodside. Now in Woodside, it's not cultural arts, it's all arts and culture, where they host a monthly event. Now it's a tremendously successful event. They have their own website. They have a line of speakers that are waiting to speak. They pay the speaker. But it also has been years in the making, where there is tremendous amount of collaboration between the town and the community, where the town, invests in the speaker's payment. They are responsible for the marketing, including hosting the website, updating the website, as well as cleaning up and setting up of each of the event. So presently, there seems to be between the community and the town. We're not there yet, but so we're just going to start baby steps, 2 events next week. So that is basically all the discussions we have up to date, but I'm sure we all have more questions. And this is really why we're so lucky to have Rebecca here with us to have this open-ended conversation with us about what she hopes we can accomplish and to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Ivy. So the original thought and vision of the idea was create a monthly event similar to what, as Ivy said, similar to Woodside First Friday, where they have speakers come and talk about mainly arts and culture. But my idea was more to have our committees who all wish to sponsor events. They all, not all of them, but quite a few of them. Conservation wants to have an event. Science and Nature is planning an event about wildlife. Quite a few of our committees want to sponsor events, want to have events. And so the main idea was to arrange it so that it's always on the same time every month. So then everybody in town gets used to the idea that they're going to be able to see their neighbors and their friends always at one time in every month, and they can sort of block that out on their calendars. And then I'd taken this to the town as an idea, and Darcy had suggested, having seen the First Friday event, why not go to the Cultural Arts Committee and see if you would be interested in sort of being the umbrella organization for that. And after talking to Ivy, based on her information, it sounds like your kind of volunteer activities are pretty full, and so that you wouldn't really have the capacity to take on the oversight of this
project. And so you just wanted to kind of limit it to maybe 2 events that cultural arts would put on. And then we would sort of work with some of the other committees to see if they also wanted to participate on the same date per month. I think that's the key part of this whole thing, is just trying to get evening events that always happens on the same day every month, and have the groups. I think it will save time for the town, because, you know, we'll be able to reserve a room, whether it's this room, for example, that's always set up, or something that if you're expecting a larger crowd over at the community hall. But the community hall has quite a few challenges with it. It requires setup, it requires audiovisual materials. It turns out that our audiovisual system over there is now dead. So that was a challenge I wasn't even aware of. So it just sort of depends upon each committee. And the idea of the committees, you know, they're all talking about doing presentations. So they also have, they have money in their budgets to do an event. You know, conservation has money that they have put into their budget for that. When I was on sustainability, we used to have a budget for events. And a few years ago, we put on, before the pandemic, we put on movies. Like we had 3 movie nights in the winter over at Community Hall. So if we could just arrange it so that it's whatever the committees, you know, they can do whatever they want, but they would be in charge of their event. All the coordination really would be just in coordinating the schedule. And personally, I have no problem coordinating the schedule and that sort of thing. If cultural arts didn't really want to take on that responsibility. But it's just sort of the idea, you know. So I'm also on the library board for the JPA, which is for all the libraries in San Mateo County. And their theme this coming year is about senior loneliness. And it's, you know, it's certainly becoming a huge issue. I mean, it's not just seniors, it's also, you know, a lot of other people who are having issues with loneliness. So I was sort of thinking this would be a great way to counter those problems, because people would be able to come, it would be around their neighbors and their friends, and get to learn something new about, you know, something, whether it's climate change, whether it's an art, whether it's something happening in the community, whatever. So it really comes down to kind of what level of involvement that the community, that the Cultural Arts Committee wants to be involved. I mean, my idea was that, you know, you've got 12 months, you know, you select which day of the month that it would happen each time. And then the different committees could then choose how many, you know, they could do one a year, they could do 2 a year, you know, they choose the months. And then it's easier to coordinate with the town, because that date would always be set aside for the town hall. So then you wouldn't have to have so much back and forth paperwork and, you know, whatever. And hopefully at some point when we have a little bit more money in our budget, we'd be able to actually have our staff do the setup if it's over at the other room, which is right now we're kind of limited on that because the staff is too busy. But eventually, you know, I would hope to have that you know, but without that, I would personally expect, and we would be communicating that to the other committees, that each committee would have to be responsible for their own setup and their breakdown. Because I don't, you know, we have nobody else available to do that. And I wouldn't expect cultural arts to have to lug chairs around. So, I mean, those are kind of the main ideas. So really, from my perspective, what I'd love to come out of here is get a better sense of what your involvement you'd like it to be, whether it's just to be your 2 events, that's it, which is fine. Or whether you also want to be involved in more of the marketing of all the events, or in sort of some of the, you know, the branding of the series, or helping to coordinate the schedule. And then the other thing I would like to have a sense of is, excuse me, the time that would be most ideal to hold this. And I did go through the calendar to get a sense of when there were not a lot of conflicting events. And we had originally thought about Thursday being great, but it turns out that Alpine Hills has every Thursday has a big event. So Thursdays are out. So then it comes down to whether it would be better to have it during the week, or whether it'd be better to be on a Friday. So that's what I'd love to get feedback from everyone. And then just, you know, what your level of involvement you think that you're able to put in at this point.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm going to open up the floor to everyone here to provide their feedback. And may I just remind everyone that we limit each speaker time to 3 minutes. So I'm taking volunteers. Okay.
I'd like to say that the Friday sounds like a great idea, but we'd want to coordinate with Woodside so it's not the same Friday.
Yeah, there's always first Friday, so
Okay.
probably make more sense to be third or something.
But yeah, fantastic idea. And the loneliness is real. I mean, it's real even among college students and and they've got a whole campus full of people there.
Remote workers.
Oh, gee.
Anyone else?
I think it's a really cool idea. And I think the third Friday seems like it could be a cool, like a great place to start. And then if we're finding it's not a good date, then we explore a different date. And I I feel like we could probably, as a committee, do, I don't want to speak on behalf of the committee, but we could probably do at least one event as a committee. And I wouldn't mind being involved in the marketing or branding, but I think having a team is probably a better, since it's volunteer based. So that way, if one person's schedule is a little crazy, then, you know, there's one or two other people that could be involved. So if our committee wasn't interested in taking complete ownership of it right now, which I think we're still so new, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone again. I think it would be interesting to know if there are other, like one or two members of other committees that might want to form a group. I love work that can happen at like 9 at night.
Anyone else? Okay. So
Lot to
I,
think about. No, it's a lot to think about.
So I had a conversation with the committee chairs of Woodside's Arts and Culture, and I got detailed feedback from her. Is it's like I said, years in the making. They don't really coordinate with anybody. It's monthly arts and culture, and it is so successful that they have speakers lined up, and they need to go. The people, whoever is interested in speaking, fans go to their website. There's a designated website, and then have to fill out an application, and they get to sort out and pick whoever wants to come to speak. I would love for us to get to there. I asked a few things. They said, you know, it's difficult to coordinate with other committees because, you know, these events are already, it's a lot of time to put on events. And so what they want to do is work with a group of people who are going to be in the same room and talk about the details instead of talk with one group of people and trying to coordinate with, you know, X number of group of people who are not in the room. It just gets very complicated. So I think logistically it came down to that's the reason why it's just that committee. They're a committee of, I believe, 12 people who been on that committee for a number of years. So it's a very, very well-run team. They have a book, which I'm sure if I request, they will share the book with us. Yeah, they have a, like, down to the book, like everything down to how they set up the refreshment, how they market, how they, she's very open to share those ideas with us. And I asked is if we do this on a Friday, not the first Friday, but if we do on this Friday, can we cross market? Because marketing, I've learned the very, very hard way recently. It is so vital to the success, right? I mean, I think we had our event, we had to cancel. Well, a number of things, right? It just marketing is very important. So if we have somebody who say, hey, we only do one Friday of the month, come on over to Portola Valley on the third Friday. And we just have a very powerful ally. So I definitely support a Friday. And I think third Friday sounds fantastic because theirs is on the first, so we can do a third Friday. Would I eventually want to grow into a monthly? Absolutely. But I think next year, what I suggest is baby steps. I want to be successful. As of today, the new Cultural Arts Committee here in Portola Valley, we have not put on any event yet. So I certainly don't want to commit to, multiple events, and certainly an event that requires a lot of coordination and marketing, since we just simply don't have the track record to put on anything. But definitely an aspiration. I agree with everyone else here. It's a fantastic idea.
I did want to kind of distinguish it a little bit from Woodside's version, because as you said, they have a whole huge team that's been dedicated to doing very professional events where they bring in professional speakers, where they bring in people from museums. It's a different idea from what I was thinking of. And mine is more focused on the fact that our committees are already putting on events, like Conservation did one last year on the mountain lions or with the zoos and stuff. So they kind of handled everything. So the only shift would be that we would try to make it so that it was always the same day per month. That way, everybody in there can just sort of know that was something might happen that day and sort of set it aside. They're planning their. But also if it's coordinated. Yeah, I mean, eventually it could go into becoming its own team or whatever, or maybe when cultural arts grows, you'd be able to take on more of that. But, initially.
May I provide a suggestion? I think one thing I would like, and this is, I don't have an answer to this question, is that what is it that we can have what kind of support can we have from the town of Portola Valley, right? Because the more, I think to the extent that we have aspirations for this to be a recurring speakers theory, hopefully growing into a monthly event, that everything we do the first couple of times essentially will impact the courses of action we take in the future, right? This is like path dependency. If we do everything, then there is no need for anyone else to help. I just want for that to keep in mind. And having spoken to the Woodside committee, I was very, very inspired by the collaboration between the committees and the town, and how that itself has been a factor for the success of the event. And I think the more invested each party is into this partnership, I think that will greatly increase the chance of having this event that you envision, which we all support, to be a long-term success.
Yeah, I could spend some more time talking to Darcy about it, as well as work with Cindy, because she's the one that sort of handles the facilities, rentals, and that sort of thing, just to get a better sense of what they feel at this point the town can provide, and then talk a little bit about what our expectations are kind of in the future when we actually have hopefully a little bit more money in a year from now. Because I do think it's reasonable to expect the town to handle some of the logistics of setting up rooms. I don't think that's an unreasonable request, or at least to hire some kids or something to come in and move chairs around. I think it's a lot to always expect but more volunteers to be doing that. But yeah. And again, this room is a lovely room because of the Zoom setup as well. So if you want to have an event that has Zoom associated with, so people can actually also tune in online, even though that's not really the goal of the idea. This has a lot less requirements for setup and stuff. But I do want to say that a lot of the staff work on a 980 schedule. So that means sort of half of them are not there on Fridays. So obviously, if we're coordinating on one day, one particular Friday, say it was the third Friday of the month, then their schedule, they could work their schedule a little bit better so that we would have some support for security or for, if something doesn't work in terms of visual, there would be somebody who might be able to help us, which, given how often this thing seems to fail, might be helpful to have.
For this room, is there are these the only microphones or are there, I guess there's the lectern there. Cause this room is ideal for, a smaller gathering that has a speaker. There wouldn't be too much setup that would be needed for this room. So that's.
I had a different perspective to try to throw in here as well. I love the idea. I think we could use some advice. And I have a friend who's an artist over in Woodside who's been part of their speaker committee for years, Kit Coleman. And she's really sensible. She would be more than willing to share what she has learned over these years, I suspect. So if you wanted me to try to reach out to her and see whether she could give us some advice, that might be a helpful thing.
On the first Friday.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's invited me. I didn't respond to her quickly enough for that. And it's like, as you said, they've got a full roster. It's like, oh, well, we'll have to put you in 2026. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, it's so they're a well-oiled machine as far as I can see. So if you want me to contact her, I will. And who should she be speaking
We
to
could
you or
have,
to-
we could have, a number of people from Woodside to come out to talk to us. Or maybe we could just
That's cool.
do some
Great.
sort of either formal or informal, have lunch between the two committees. I think it's only helpful that we connect with Woodside, and especially that we're so close together, and then it's such a well-run committee. We can learn a lot from them. Yeah.
So I guess one question is, if this does move forward, when would be the first event? Because I think that helps form all the other questions and conversations if there's an understanding of a timeline.
I was just going to say that I don't know how many years ago, our very first speaker series was in this room with Bill Lane speaking about the West and water. And how many years ago is that? We had a terrific speaker series going on before COVID. And that's kind of slowed and stopped everything. So it's not like we haven't done it. We were way ahead of Woodside. But it just, everything changed and this room has changed. This is real easy to come in and sit down and hear somebody, but are we allowed to use it? I understood we're not because of the equipment. And there were many more chairs.
So
So we've had a lot of meetings in here too. We had refreshments outside and the meeting here. And we were very successful. COVID really took 3 years out of.
I do want to focus on something, right, which we're doing better. I mean, I would say better. It's not a competition. We have a different focus, which is Woodside Arts and Culture Committee with 12 members. Their only event is the monthly speaker series. They do not do anything else. Whereas we are focused, because I think we're focusing on a lot more family-friendly events with involving kids. every time we do anything that involves kids, it is a lot more time consuming to plan those events. And that has always been one of our strengths here in Portola Valley. So just because we are not having speaker events on a monthly basis, it's because we have chose to prioritize more family friendly events. And this is another reason why I say, because we're doing that presently, I do not support that we sign up for a monthly event, right? This is one of the many reasons. And one of the reasons is that, something on Friday night, I think they start at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. There's just no way, we can have a lot of kids be going to a talk about, Renaissance arts on Friday night at 7 p.m. So we're doing good. We're doing good. We have a different focus. I do think by having a recurring speaker series, maybe not on a monthly basis, we'll be diversifying our portfolio a little bit, right? And then let it grow.
Well, we have no shortage of talent that we could certainly present every month. But,
He will be getting some of the other committees to sponsor, you know. Yeah. I mean, originally when I first had the idea, my plan was just to go out to all the committees and say, do you have a speaker you'd like to have? Is this something you'd like to have? And then Darcy suggested that maybe it could sit under the cultural arts umbrella, but from what I'm hearing is you want to focus more on kids and then just on art or culture. So, maybe you just sponsor a couple of events and that's it, which is fine too.
No, we're not necessarily focused on kids. We want to, so whereas Woodside, there's no focus on kids, we just want to do a little bit more for kids. So,
And I also think there was sort of some new people added to the committee. I know I'm very new, so I'm still learning, what we do as a committee, and we're sort of like just jump starting events too. So we're, I think, still just getting our footing with IB and just like figuring out what our plan is. So I think we just didn't want to say yes to something we weren't ready for yet, too.
I completely respect that. Just following up on the ideas to throw around, see where your interests are.
would you like to have some suggestions about themes or like, where all the communities, maybe that could be not just probably can drum up some interest and also provide some cohesion for the recurring events. I mean, that's always, I find more creative side of event making is often a lot more pleasant than the logistics.
Sure, but my impression of going as I'm a liaison to committees is that a lot of them already have plans to do a talk. It's just a matter of trying to bring it, to kind of corral it into the same day. That's kind of where.
Would you happen to know what those topics are?
Conservation was something with wildlife corridors. Yeah, I don't know the others off the top of my head, but that one is
That's a wonderful topic.
Conservation was that. And I think wildfire preparedness is interested in something with wildfire preparedness.
Maybe we can think about invite a filmmaker, documentary filmmaker to talk about that, or a photographer, nature photographer, to talk about conservation or wildlife conservation. So those are the topics. I think those are fantastic.
I don't think they're there yet. They're just starting the process of thinking about it.
I'd like to speak up for the single best speaker I've ever heard here in town, and that was John Muir Laws. And oh my goodness, it included kids. It was really very helpful for them to, you know, he had just one example of something wonderful he did. It's like, if you go out and you're trying to sketch a bird or trying to see who that is, you know, and you say, it's a robin. And it's like, okay, task done. I've identified a robin. But if you ask questions and look deeper, then you're starting to see, oh, that robin is larger than this one. Why is, and why is he eating here? And it just got phenomenally fascinating. And it was no wonder middle school teachers, for instance, really were always clamoring to have him come to their classrooms. I mean, so that might be just a really strong point to hit all the
Local?
notes that we're talking about.
Is he local?
I don't know, and I don't know how much he charges, so that could be a real problem. But he was just the most wonderful speaker I've ever heard here.
So I can share that the Woodside speaker events, they pay $400 per speaker per event. So I can clarify, is that shared among different speakers if there's more than one, or it's per speaker event? And I think when we approached that topic with Dorothy, she seemed to be, you know, she wasn't terribly shocked by that. So so that is something I'm glad that, yeah. It's not-
The committees that have in the past planned to do events, they usually put, somewhere around $400, $500 into their budgets. Obviously, you're all aware that our budget is very constrained, right, this year and next year too. But I believe all of the budgets for all the committees, we approved them all for this year. We won't have much money, extra money for next year. So.
Rebecca, I want to go back to Stacy's question about timeline, first event. Remind me, are we on a calendar year here with Portola Valley or fiscal year?
It goes through June 30th. So July 1st to June 30th is each
Are you,
fiscal year.
would you like to see a speaker event take place, or a few of them due to different committees prior to the end of the current fiscal year?
My understanding is conservation is planning to do something in the spring. So yes, I guess at least one event. I know geology, I think they want to do something as well. I don't know if they're planning for this coming semester, if you will.
We could absolutely check. Let me see if that Friday. I mean, because we could kick it off. That's a great question.
Do we know any wildlife photographers? Kind of ties to your idea too.
My brother's biggest prize was from shooting a photo of a moose and the ranger who was trying to make sure he wasn't going to cause harm. It was really an amazing.
But he's out of
photo.
town, right? And then I think Rebecca is thinking about.
There is a nature photographer in Ladera who's
Okay.
he does fabulous pictures. I don't know if he's a speaker though. I'm not blanking on
The
his name.
capture the light guy.
I mean, we could try to tie that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, frankly, there's your two events taken care of. We can have one Friday where we can focus on kids alone, and another one have a wildlife photographer come in, and then that all take place before April. And then we have our event in April, and then we have another photography exhibit in the spring for pets. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, right. A summer, and then we could do even have a filmmaker come in, right? This is.
The documentary filmmaker.
Oh, John Else. I'm telling you, there's no shortage of talent. We could do 2 a month. We have 9 authors. We can
Yeah. Well, and I know there's a lot of,
have Leslie Field with
there's a lot of really
Saving
talented.
the World, Saving Eyes. We've got
There you go.
her. She's a whole evening. What? John, ELSE.
I know
And
there's a
his
lot of,
latest, documentary is Women of the Gold Country. I think it's called Gold Women. He did the Eyes on the Prize series.
We are a little bit over our time. Is 6:04 at this
And
point.
he's done,
Um,
oh, sorry, he's done, we had him at the library, was backstage at the theater. And under the apron, how they can put on a whole, theatrical production. I think it was in the city. It was fabulous. And he's got
I think
10.
that's
We
a-
could do one of him every month.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no shortage. We can do it. We're short. A few people and, short setup.
It-
I mean, this would be perfect for him to show
I
a
think it's,
documentary.
yeah.
This room, we'd need more chairs. And the setup in that room is difficult. I know, because I just did it.
I mean, I can
Um,
also ask over at Valley Press, because they have a big room and they do,
Oh, that's a really good idea.
well, I don't know what,
Beautiful.
you know, they would be open to doing that if somehow it just was too complex to do it over. a camera.
You know, we also might join with the Priory on a bigger event.
They've
Someone
expressed,
can't-
they've expressed interest involved as well, so.
So we are a little bit over a lot of time, and there is one item, and it's a logistic item about our meeting time I'd like to get to. Rebecca, do you have everything you need from us today? Okay. I think no problem. I think for next step, I mean, we are interested. Maybe you can tell us, we can secure the third Friday, and then we'll start with one event in the spring, early summer. And we can just let's do an event, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So our last, are we okay staying over a little bit, or do we want to?
I think we
Okay,
need to wrap it up.
we
Yeah,
need to wrap it up.
like this night.
So in that case, our current meeting time is scheduled the second Tuesday of 5 p.m. every month, and I hope we can talk about potentially a new meeting time if that doesn't suit people next time. But so next time we'll do that. In that case, if there's no any other business, do I want to call out? Does anybody want to talk about any other business?
I'd love to make a final comment.
Uh-huh.
I think we've gotten to see the community building we have, even just among ourselves, discussing all these different ideas.
Mhm.
So, and Rebecca is the champion of community building, right? The founder of the forum. So, yeah, this has been a great meeting, I think.
I'll share the same sentiment. Thank you. So I would like to call the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.